We'll lead with this. UDM leader Bantu Holomisa is urging President Cyril Ramaphosa to extend the scope of state capture inquiry to include the Public Investment Corporation. Holomisa alleges that ANC-NEC member Mkhize helped an oil company get a loan from the PIC and he received a kickback for it. The allegation follows Mkhize being named by a law firm in a legal claim against fuel distribution company Africa Oil. Mkhize is alleged to have agreed to promote Africa Oil's projects, including providing support for the facilitation of the PIC loan. Meanwhile, Mkhize denies the allegations and says he won't be seeking legal advice. The PIC says the reports are patently false. My colleague Harold Balamo now unpacks the story with UDM leader Bantu Holomisa, SAFTU Deputy SG Moliko Pakedi, as well as Deputy Minister of Finance Mkhize Gungubele.
Thank you, Ananda. Joining us in the studio to unpack this story is Moliko Pakedi, Deputy General Secretary of SAFTU. Welcome.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
Bantu Holomisa will be joining us on the line shortly, and hopefully the Deputy Finance Minister Mkhize Gungubele will also be joining us later on. But starting with you, Moliko, there's quite an accumulation of stories about the PIC which are quite unsettling. This is just one in a list. Your view from the SAFTU perspective on what's going on here?
Look, from the beginning of this year, we have been raising some serious concerns about the manner in which workers' funds are being managed and are being channeled towards certain investments that are either questionable or may be posing serious risk towards workers' money. Yeah. Equally, they may not be within the scope of the mandate of the PIC. You would appreciate that PIC as an institution is the state-owned. For that matter, it's expected to invest public servants' money who are derived from the GEPF. And for that matter, it's expected to look after the money that is collected through your compensation fund and, or for that matter, UIF. Yeah. So it has got a particular mandate to serve, precisely because those are monies of workers, and in our view, it should be serving that particular mandate. But of recent past, it has been finding itself into some questionable transaction. And we have been one of the federation particularly rejecting some of the intended types and form of investment that they wanted to embark upon. We would appreciate that recently they wanted to bail out these poorly managed, corrupt, ridden state-owned enterprises. And we have been raising a flag as SAFTU, and we've been quite firm and strong about that particular issue. Those are workers' money. They must be cared for. They must be properly invested and well managed in the best interest of workers.
Correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that these monies from the UIF are intended for investment in job-creating or job-protecting ventures. Is that right?
That would be one of the area of investment that we'd like to have.
Yes.
But remember, PIC as an investment manager would have a right to look into various models and instruments of investments,
right,
which forms a portfolio that will bring about certain returns.
Yes.
And such will then benefit those workers at the time of either retrenchment, dismissal, or even death, because their families would have to claim such a particular benefit.
Yes.
The same applies with the compensation fund in case of ill as a result of occupation or injury. That worker will be expected to claim, and PIC have got a duty to invest such funds. So the unfortunate case is that PIC have been finding itself in quite a number of questionable transactions.
Let's ask you, Bantu, what has happened since you've written that letter to the president? And as I understand it, there was a follow-up to a previous letter to which you didn't receive a response.
The President and the Deputy Chief Justice responded to my first letter, which I wrote, I think, on the 31st, but sometime last week. And the Deputy Chief Justice said the person who has the powers to extend the powers of the Commission would be the President. And he said he thinks that he would look into this matter favorably because of its seriousness. And then the President himself did acknowledge receipt. So when I wrote this other letter on Friday, I made a reference to their responses. and put a little bit of motivation that this matter is urgent, especially that there is this company now called Mkhize, which is a company owned by the ANC, and whose mandate is not clear as to what exactly are they doing. Because for them to be involved in distributing funds or used as a conduit for the funds of the workers, so it's worrying. So that's why we're saying this looting spree has to come to an end.
Are you absolutely certain about the fact that Mkhize is an ANC company? As I understand it, there have been some denials coming from the ruling party, or at least elements of the ruling party.
The letter which I attached to President Cyril Ramaphosa confirms that this is a company of the ANC. The former Treasurer General also yesterday, if you read the Sunday Times, he confirmed that, Mr. Posa, he confirmed that Mkhize is an ANC company. So the people who are claiming their monies to be paid to them as service fee include such a person in the caliber of who was this former intelligence head in this country?
Billy Masetla.
Billy Masetla. There's another general involved there. I don't think those people you would question their integrity to say, when they say, we want our money.
Yeah.
We've delivered because PIC did pay the money. So what exactly are you looking for?
Muleko, there's been a process in Parliament to initiate the amendment of the PIC Act. I think it's called the PIC Amendment Bill. And amongst the changes that are being proposed is to introduce board positions for unions. How far do you think this goes towards addressing this sort of problem? Obviously, there are the legacy issues that we are talking about now that won't necessarily be solved by that. But at least going forward, hopefully, there'll be more transparency and more accountability.
We fully support that particular view. One of the issues that probably must be raised quite clearly and firmly is that we've been making a call that from the level of the SOEs, there should be a component of a worker representative within such boards, up to and including PIC. You would appreciate that PIC is supposed to be playing a meaningful role in ensuring that at least if it go for any investments towards SOE is meant for expansion purposes, not merely for operational expenses that has now suddenly become the norm. So we are for the democratized board that have got components of workers and civil, because in our view, the current setup does not necessarily fulfill the basic intended aims and objective of such an establishment. We'd appreciate that the Minister of, the Treasury, to be exact, of Finance, is the sole shareholder, and as a result thereof, you have the Deputy Minister who serves as the board chair of PIC. And other than that, you don't have the voice of workers there, and these are workers' money in reality. Because if I may, Harold, one of the issues that probably we wanted to also put forth is that if you look into the model of investment or choice of investments that are made by PIC are not to the benefit of workers whatsoever. One of the issues that we've been saying most of the public servants are left, to use the recent invented word, messy middles. You can't find them having housing. As a result thereof, is purely because they are either over or underpaid, depending on where they want to have a decent house, and they can't have RDPs, nor could they afford some of them to have even bonded houses. So PIC would have played a meaningful role to address over and above just the returns on investment, but also the social issues that goes hand in hand with an individual worker who is a member of such a fund and have got assets that they can leverage to bring about decent shelter.
Bantu, just a philosophical question here. The idea of political parties having investment companies, from your perspective, how desirable is that? Because it does appear that, you know, even with the best intentions in the world, if you do have political power, you're very much inclined to use it in this fashion.
Well, in principle, I would say I don't agree that political parties should have investment companies. Because if you are in government, immediately a conflict of interest will arise when the same companies are going to queue for tenders. Take, for instance, the Chancellor House. They involve themselves in looting millions in the scheme of Eskom at Medupi and all that project. And the government was denying that until such time they said, no, we've sold our share. But at the beginning they were saying there's no such. I don't think South Africa should encourage that thing at all. You see, the pain on this PIC funding is that the people who are benefiting from it are not the workers themselves or even retired workers. These are the new elite and some big businesses which are looting those resources. And this money is not even showing whether these people are servicing the loans. So it's just a dumping setup. And I hope that when it is restructured, when PIC is restructured, the public service servants must have a representative. And also the military, police, nurses the security forces must also have a representative in that board. Not just to be represented by one individual who comes from a union. Not everybody are members of these unions. And thirdly, the Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of this country, has been making a noise saying he's fighting corruption. This is a test for him to tell South Africans or give reasons why he cannot extend the terms of the state capture. This is a real state capture, what we are saying.
Moleko, I presume, based on your comments, and it sounds very much the same even from Bantu's perspective, that in this particular instance, not only are you opposed to the fact that this loan was extended to this company, but obviously also what is perceived as kickbacks related to the granting of the loan. So it's not just the kickbacks that you're against, but the principle of having made the loan in the first place.
It actually sent some alarms. It starts to suggest that there might be some serious corruption and looting of workers' funds through PIC, and it starts to suggest that certain businesses, political heavyweights, are ganging, against the PIC, and they are using their political connectedness to draw as much as they possibly could. They have done this to the state-owned enterprises, something that we have always been opposing, and we are opposing and will continue to oppose even here at PIC. It is worse in this case that you would find a situation where about 210 million rands or so have been facilitated in a very dodgy manner. And for that matter, you find a certain, for that matter, ANC leader who has, as it's alleged, benefited by way of a kickback. What is that? There seems to be certain facilitation fees that are payable across the tripartite alliance leaders for things that we don't know, and some that are quite dodgy. So I fully agree with Bantu Holomisa to say the president needs to look into this scope of expanding the state capture investigation. You would appreciate that it's not correct to think that state capture ended at the departure of Mtate Jacob Zuma. It's not the case, as far as we are concerned.
Yeah.
It is just a new group that have came into power, and they will basically stand to do absolutely the same. But if they dare touch workers' money, we will not fold our arms. We will make noise as much as possible, but if possible, if necessary, we'll even open criminal case like we are doing with others. It is just that it's so disappointing that the ANC find itself or its hand in the cookie jar too, somewhat in a very unpalatable way, so to say.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Let's see how this story unfolds. Thank you very much, Bantu, on the line, and hopefully we'll talk to you again about this issue.
Well, thanks for having me.